Today, I have a very special guest. My guest is Dr. D. Nicole. She is a phenomenal culture teacher, and I'm going to introduce you to her right now.
Thank you so much for your amazing introduction of how great and how wonderful I am. But no, that's not the case. It is because of you that makes me great. People like you that makes me great. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on your, I would call, virtual stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So tell us about yourself and your company.
Well, I am Dr. D. Nicole. That's what most people know me out here in these leadership streets. My company is Integral Exploration Development Group. And for this interview, we're going to just say IEXDG because it is a long tongue twister, but IEXDG. Um, our mission, the reason why we started this, I feel amazing organization, is because it empowers leaders.
Hmm.
Not only empowers leaders, but it emphasizes how to enhance organizational culture, which touches close to home for me.
So
Um,
what
and
is go ahead.
we do this by providing a lot of different tailored leadership development programs. And it focuses on how well individual leaders, their teams, and not just their teams, but how even in their personal and social environments, how they connect, communicate, and collaborate overall with the people that they're around. If they're dealing with it from the standpoint with individuals and in their work environments, how they communicate with them in the organizational type of arena. Um,
Mhm.
the reason why I decided to do this, our goal basically is to help organizations create workplace environments where people can thrive. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
where it helps them not only thrive, but lead them to greater success, both again professionally and individually, personally. And it the all end all is productivity within their businesses. So if they feel like they're able to thrive there, they feel better about themselves, then they're able to produce the productivity um, uh, as it relates to their organizations overall, their customer satisfaction, if they're offering a service individually where they're actually feeding into the individuals that they're nurturing. So that's why.
Okay.
That's
So
why I started.
what inspired you? Did you have any personal things going on? What inspired you to create this organization? It's
That's an
phenomenal.
interesting question. It's an interesting question. Um, well, actually, I started IEXCG because I saw a real need, Liv. I'm telling you, I saw a real need for more personalized and effective leadership development in organizations. Um,
Yes.
you know, too many workplaces were struggling with communication breakdowns. You
Hmm.
know, because of that, they lack collaboration. And as a result of that, there was ineffective leadership. I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah.
And over time, our businesses have, basically evolved to include certain things as a result of a more personalized, effective leadership development within organizations. And what do I mean by that?
Hmm.
Businesses have evolved to include a more comprehensive lens or a comprehensive set of tools and services. They understand, most leaders now understand that is necessary for them to nurture these what we call soft skills, right? Soft
Mm.
skills as far as communicating, connecting, and collaborating. And so, like framework. And another tool we use is a DISC assessment, which allows us to address these issues more. Some people don't like to hear this word holistically, but I'm going to say that to address these issues more holistically. We've expanded our offerings to meet the growing needs of our clients, including a stronger focus on cultural wellness.
Okay. So some of the services that you offer are the disc assessment, and what else did you say you offered for in your organization?
We have an effective leadership culture code framework that we go talk about down the line.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that framework, we have programs under there that specifically deal with each of those soft skills. There's 6 pillars in that. It's communication, connection, collaboration, captaincy, how well that leader can influence their staff and their teams. Okay, because let's face it, if you can't influence them, it's going in one end and out the other. That's what my grandmother used to say all the time. My mother too. It's something they always said. Well before we can even get to the culture of the place, and most certainly that leader will have to remain competent. But we have 6 programs that fall under those programs, which is under that framework.
Okay. And you mentioned the leaders being competent. And what came to my mind was they also have to be confident, because some of the leaders that I've even worked with in organizations, they have the degree, but not the confidence to lead their team. So I think that's really, really important. And I think that goes into our next point of understanding cultural wellness, because confidence in a leader affects the cultural wellness. And can you tell us more about that?
That's a good question. Cultural wellness is, for me, in the lens of IEXDG, is about creating a workplace environment where employees feel valued. Not only where they feel valued, but supported. And as you mentioned before, as something that leader will need, they need to be able to motivate their team members, excuse me. They need to be able to motivate them to contribute their best work. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about avoiding conflict. It's about fostering an atmosphere of respect, inclusion, and collaboration, where diversity of thought is encouraged, and people will feel much more connected to the organization's mission. If they don't feel like they are seen or heard, you can forget them buying in to the organization's mission.
And that is key. And those are the things that I even talk about as a behavior analyst, the buy-in. The buy-in for kids, for adults is very important, because without the buy-in, y'all spinning your wheels, And so what role does cultural wellness play in a business overall success and productivity?
That's a heavy question. But cultural wellness is foundational. Okay. It's foundational to an organization's success. Because when employees feel they belong and are valued, they're more engaged. Let's just keep it real, which directly impacts productivity and innovation. A strong, positive culture attracts top talent. It also reduces turnover. We talk about attrition and retention. Come on now. It reduces turnover and improves overall business performance. It's in my experience, what I firmly believe, it is the backbone of a thriving organization.
I think you make some key points there when we talk about employee engagement, and it hits the bottom line. If the employees are checked out, the bottom line is they're not as productive as they could be if you would nurture them in a certain way, and not like a parent, but as an employee to the people that they're working with. That makes sense?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
So what role does cultural wellness play in business and overall success and production? Wait, did I just ask that one?
No, you did, but it's okay.
I'm looking at my script over here. What can you share? Can you share some examples of cultural wellness initiatives that have impacted the organizations you serve?
Absolutely. Let's see, for instance, I'm not going to name the institutions, right?
Okay.
But we worked with an educational institution that was struggling with high turnover, okay, and low morale. You heard me say educational institution. You can imagine what that looks like. Okay?
I worked in there. I know what that looks like. Baby.
Because from my standpoint as an educator, that's where the neck of the woods, that's where I come from. But from that, not only in K-12, but higher ed as well. But this particular educational institution that was struggling with high turnover and low morale, by implementing cultural wellness initiatives, including the DISC assessment, and team building exercises, we were able to help them create a more inclusive and supportive work environment. And this led to a significant decrease in turnover and a boost in employee satisfaction and productivity. And so that not only meant a lot to the their teams, but also the leadership. They saw a marketable difference. Another example I can think of offhand is a government agency where we introduced cultural wellness programs that resulted in a more cohesive team and improved communications, which basically enhanced their service delivery. From the government standpoint, they're there and they're gone. They're just about getting it done per the powers that be. And so not many of them actually did a lot of interacting with one another. And, they had their set teams, but they weren't cohesive. So our working with them resulting in a more cohesive team. And first and foremost, it all stemmed from them improving their communication. So those are just two of the many that I can name off the top of my head.
So while you're doing this, and I heard you say the disassessment, but I want to talk about a little bit more about the cultural wellness. So what are the most common challenges that organizations face today that you've noticed in your work?
Wow, this is relating to the need for individuals, leaders to understand the importance of cultural wellness. Some of the most common challenges include, I said it before and I'll keep saying it, lack of effective communication.
That's a big one. And that's a
right?
big one.
It really is. Another one is a resistance to change, because, we're as a leader or in management is our way or the highway. This is how I've always done it, or so-and-so before that. And, the resistance to change. And issues around diversity and inclusion. Okay. We hear that a lot. So many organizations, they struggle with creating a culture that is both inclusive and productive. Right. Because it's either many of times because of the different nuances in there, that particular type of struggle really makes them either work on one or the other, inclusivity and productivity. So this is where we come in, where we help them with their employees, we help them understand how necessary it is to make sure that all employees feel they can contribute meaningfully. You get what I'm saying? So we help them with that. It's a team effort. It's not just what we say, but we bring the leaders in to help them understand how to nurture their environment so that you can work on both inclusivity as well as productivity.
And you're speaking a lot about inclusivity. I'm a person with ADHD, and I have found it hard to work within organizations, especially when it's so rigid. This is the way we've always done it. And my mind works a little differently. So I have struggled within organizations trying to do it their way, not being effective at it, being brilliant in my own right, but not being able to meet their standard because it needs to be done this way or it's not right. So I think that's very important,
Yeah.
How do you assess the current state of the organization's cultural wellness when you go in there?
We typically start with a thorough assessment, which includes surveys, interviews, and the DISC assessment. We do this to help us understand the current dynamics within that organization. We look at the factors like communication patterns, leadership effectiveness, and employee engagement to get a clearer picture of their culture health of the organization.
Okay, so once you go in and do the assessment, what strategies or practices do you recommend to improve the cultural wellness, or is that after you do the DISC assessment?
Okay, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it starts with leadership.
Well, come on, speak truth.
It's leaders, leaders need to model the behaviors they want to see. Okay.
Come on now. Say that again for the people in the back, Dr. D. Nicole. Okay.
Leaders need to model the behaviors they want to see. Okay. Such as openness. Okay. Respect
cooperation.
and collaboration. How about that?
Come on now, all the C's,
Right.
because
Right.
it's
So
almost
regular
like
training and development programs need that, So like
yes,
those we offer at IEXDG, they're very crucial. We also recommend using tools like the DIS assessment to help teams understand each other better. And
Mhm.
that way, if they understand each other better, they improve their interactions with each other, right?
Right,
And, and
right.
and finally, it's important to continuously monitor, which most people don't do. They just think it's a one and done, But they need to
Yeah.
continuously monitor and adapt their cultural wellness initiatives to
Mhm.
meet the changing needs of their organization. You have, unfortunately, you have some, people come and people go, right?
Yes, we
And then for
do.
those who are still there, they need to continually grow. So that's why it's necessary, that they have some form of continuously monitoring and adapting their wellness initiatives.
Mhm. You know, when you were speaking earlier about the leaders, what came to my mind was, remember back in the day, your parent used to say, "Do as I say and not as I do," and that's the kind of leadership that is happening within these organizations. I'm leader. I crack the whip, and you just do with no collaboration, with no understanding. Just do it, and so that's what came to my mind. So now we're going into the DISC assessment. So, how do you typically introduce the DISC assessment to organizations?
Well, let me first talk about how important a DISC assessment is. It's an
Okay. Oh,
incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful. It is a good tool for understanding how different personalities interact with the team.
okay.
And so by identifying individual behavior styles, okay, that this is what's most important. We can help teams communicate more effectively and work together more smoothly. Okay. Now,
Yes.
in the context, now we have to keep it in context. In the context of cultural wellness, this helps leaders understand the dynamics at play in their teams. It also helps them make informed decisions to foster a healthier, more inclusive culture. And so, with that, as it relates to the question that you asked about, how can we explain how the results of a DISC assessment can influence or shape an organization culture? The insights from the DISC assessments basically can highlight areas where communication or collaboration might be breaking down. Okay, for example, um, let's see, if a team has a lot of dominance, that's the D in the DISC styles,
Okay.
there might be a tendency toward competition, okay, rather than
Okay.
cooperation, right?
Well,
And
I'm a dominant
understanding this.
personality. I get it.
Okay, you think so, but I think differently. But we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. I'd love to give you a test, yeah, but I don't see that in you. But
Okay.
for a competitive competition rather than cooperation, they need to understand this allows when they have this assessment, it allows the leaders to take a proactive step, take more proactive steps towards balancing these dynamics and also creating a culture that leverages everyone's strengths. Because if you got everybody that wants to run something, you don't get anything done. Okay, you'll get some things done, but you're gonna have I can assure you, a very toxic workplace culture. Okay,
What would they say? A whole bunch of chiefs and no Indians, huh?
come on now, come on now.
Listen, I've been there. Can you
Yeah.
explain how the results of the DISC assessment can influence or shape an organization's culture?
That's what I was basically just talking about. It'll help them highlight like where communication and collaboration might be breaking down. So
Okay.
I gave you that example about the D. Some of the even the dominance thing. You can have someone with the dominance a D when they're dealing with someone who is, let's say, more steady in steadiness. Those individuals, man, sometimes that D will think that that person that operates with their steadiness aggravates them. You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So you have to
Mhm.
learn how they mesh and how there is a need for every one of those styles to be a part of for them to understand that you may see that in different individuals throughout. And then also understand that these may change as individuals begin to grow and understand who they are and how they communicate.
Okay. I think that's important. I think that's really important, especially within organizations. What insights can this assessment provide about team dynamics and individual behavior? Did we already answer that one with all? Because I feel like we answered a lot of the questions that I had with some of the conversation that we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, this is something good because that this is with the DIS assessment, because it's a behavioral type of assessment. It's definitely something that is ongoing, and you'll find different ebbs and flows. I call it hills and valleys. It's a roller coaster journey. But DIS assessments reveal how each team member prefers to communicate. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, how each team member makes decisions and how they approach problems. Okay. These particular insights that they'll get from the DIS assessments are critical for understanding team dynamics. Okay. This is very important because they show where conflicts might arise and how to prevent them. Okay. So, for
Okay.
example, let me tell you, remember I was talking about the dominance person. Let's talk about someone with a conscientiousness style, the C, right?
Okay.
They might prefer detailed, structured communication. Give me the details. Don't just give me pieces. Give me the details, right? While someone with an influence style, an I, might thrive on brainstorming sessions and open discussions, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is different from that dominance person, right? So knowing this allows leaders to tailor their approaches to meet the needs of their teams. This is where that inclusivity thing fits in, right? And it also will help them in fostering a more harmonious and productive work environment. I can never stop speaking about that part, right? So understanding how important it is to know the different nuances of the people, the different styles. Now, um, how to look at it and not use it as a crutch, right? We can go into that as well. But understand your team dynamics is very important, because if not, you're going to have those conflicts, because again, you have these different styles, communication styles. Okay, that's what the DIS assessment is really about. Um, and I can assure you, I've done this even in my household, with my husband, with my children, with my siblings.
Are you whipping them people into shape?
Listen, not just that, but not only that, it's whipping myself into shape. You get what I'm saying? So I can understand how well I communicate, how well I see or take what someone may have said to me, not using it as an excuse, but it's helping me not take things so personal. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Even down to my social circles, okay? Because my social circles, different organizations that I'm a part of, yeah. Um, I'm talking from the home, workplace, church, whoever, the club, any place. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. You got to understand how you communicate, and how effective it is, or not. If that makes sense.
That does make sense. I have an off the beaten path question. So once you do this assessment, you figure out the personality styles of the people within your organization. You present this to the leaders. Do you ever get any resistance from them regarding what you found out and how you can help their organizational change? Are they like, oh, this ain't gonna work? Or have you found any of that?
Oh yeah, one challenge or one resistance is change. The resistance to change. People, they're often comfortable with their established ways. Okay, we're going to just
Mhm.
keep it real, right?
Yes.
Our established ways of working, our established ways of look, the way we drive into work, right? The way we drive into to church, or the way we go to the way we fix our plates, you name it, right? That is a common challenge, resistance to change. You know, when they're met with this change, it makes them a little uncomfortable. So because they have these established ways of working, they can be a little hesitant. And when they're hesitant to adapt to new methods, right? Another challenge is misunderstanding or misusing the DIS results. Oh,
Ooh, tell me about that, Dr.
this is where
Nicole.
people might try to pigeonhole themselves or others based on their DIS type. I'm a D, so that's just how I am. You just got to take it or leave it. Uh-uh.
Excuses.
No, ma'am. No, no. It's important for them to understand that this is a tool. Okay, it's a tool for growth, not a label that defines someone's permanently. You don't define me permanently, and don't define yourself permanently. I believe that change is a process, not an event. It's something that you need to be willing to do. If you're not changing or evolving and you're the way you used to be, and this is just how I am, well, time moves on, right? You got to change with that. So it's important to understand that this is a tool for growth, and you can't label people with that. Overcoming these particular challenges involves clear communication from that leader about the purpose of the DIS, and also a continuous education on how to use it effectively. That's why I said that they need to monitor it, and they need to continually, massage it, right? And like I said, sometimes you could be a high D or an I, or a high I, a low C. We can go on and on into that, but it is definitely something that needs to be continuous, a continuous educational experience, as I might say.
And as you say, continues, that leads me into the next subject of measuring, because once you do this program and you put it together for these organizations, you say continue. You have to continually have data to continue to see where growth is needed or continues to be needed, or even if they're implementing the process, the program that you put together effectively. So, how do you feel that measurement within the program that you have created for the organization works? Measuring it, like who's going to do it? Because once you're gone and out of there and you've put everything together, is there a key stakeholder who does it? Is there appointed person? How does that go?
Well, I think you're asking, how do we measure the impact of culture wellness initiatives
Yes,
as it relates to the DIS assessment within an organization?
yes, and the continual data of it.
Well, we measure the impact through a combination of quantitative and qualitative metrics. Quantitatively, obviously that's dealing with numbers. We look at KPIs, that's the key performance indicators, such as employee engagement scores, their turnover rates, and productivity levels before and after the initiatives. From the qualitatively standpoint, we gather the feedback through surveys and interviews to help us better understand and help the leaders that we're engaged with better understand how employees feel about the changes. And then we also track the specific outcomes of the DIS assessment, such as improved communication or reduce conflicts to assess their effectiveness. And then what we then do with those key indicators, which also include high employee engagement and satisfaction and low turnover rates. We look at the strong team cohesion and a positive inclusion work environment. We take all of that into consideration, in which you should also see when dealing with using the DIS, increased productivity and innovation. We take all of that into consideration, as well as a better overall, business performance. We use that to help the institutions that we're working with, the organizations that we work with, to help them use it as a guide and as I don't want to say a placeholder to see where they are and where they need to go. Another important, and when I say that means as it relates to a better overall business performance, because let's just face it, when things are more innovative, things are more productive, when people feel more engaged, when they feel more heard, the overall wellness of the organization is healthier. And so within that organization, people should feel comfortable sharing their ideas and feedback, and they will be able to do that through those tools. And we can actually see from that standpoint, from the standpoint both quantitatively and qualitatively, how things are where they are with it and what they've done, how well they've done with it, or some areas that they still need to work on.
Improvement.
As to the reason why I consistently talk about continuous improvement in work.
Okay. And you've already hit the key indicators question. So, can you share any case studies or success stories of DISC assessments leading to significant improvements in cultural wellness?
Um, um,
You did mention a few, though.
yeah, I did. Some that dealing with some educational institutions, government, as well as even national organizations that we've dealt with, that struggled with communication issues across departments, leading to delays in the end all tell all productivity, right? So
Mhm.
we implemented the DISC assessment to help the teams understand each other's communication styles and how to improve their interactions, which is so important. With that in mind, within, say, give or take about 6 months, they saw a significant reduction in misunderstandings and a notable improvement in collaboration across departments, which they always talked about.
Big.
They didn't collaborate because they weren't connecting. You know what I'm saying? This led to a faster decision making and ultimately better outcomes overall for their institutions. Yeah, so the DISC builds stronger, more cohesive teams, which we firmly believe results in higher employee retention and a more innovative work environment. People like to come to work when they're working on themselves and others, and how to just engage with everyone. They're not sitting off in their self-isolation. This even not only works when you're going in a work site, but even for those who are dealing with individuals who are uh, will feel like that they're not included. When we're talking about inclusivity, we're talking about people who are working from home. So that it's important that organizations understand that you have people that work virtually, and they don't consider them because out of sight, out of mind. So we even work with organizations, even with the DISC at that level, to understand that they may not be where you can see one another, but there is a need to make sure that they are included as well.
Okay. And I'm going into the challenges and solutions, but you already talked about the resistance to change that that could happen within organizations. I'm going to talk about how do you address resistance or skepticism from employees when implementing disassessments or leaders.
You tackle it. We tackle resistance by being transparent about the benefits of the DISC assessment.
Does
Um,
that always work?
right. Well, we do this by involving everyone in the process from the start. Right.
Hmm.
We are firm when we talk to our leaders. You don't ask us to come in to just whip your team into shape. You are part of the team.
You are part of the team. Yes.
We won't work with that leader if they're not a part of it. I'm sorry, because you have to put everyone has to be a part of it. That will be a piece missing. You get what I'm saying? So there are
Yeah.
no benefits in that, and it just dismantles and destroys everything that you claim you want to work. We're not about coming in to fix anyone. You get what I'm saying? We're
Hmm.
coming in to help make a change
Right.
in those areas that you deem necessary. That's why they invite us in, because they feel that there is a need. They have some help, and that they need some help. Tackle resistance by being transparent about those about the benefits of the DISC, and by involving everyone in the process from the start. We often begin we start off with a pilot program. Okay.
Okay.
And the pilot program, or a small group, if that's what you want to say, to demonstrate its value, which then helps build trust and buy-in, okay, across the
Okay.
organization.
That makes sense.
We just don't do that again with their teams. The leaders have to be a part of it. We also emphasize that the DISC is not about changing who people are, but about understanding each other better to work more effectively together. Okay, because that's important. And for the leadership, we highlight how these particular insights can directly contribute to achieving their goals. Okay, and overall, it makes it a easier place to work in, work for, and it makes it easier to see the value. Yeah.
Okay. Do you find that there are common misconceptions about the DISC assessments when you're doing this within organizations? And how do you clarify that if there are?
That's that I'm a D and that's just how I am, and you know that. Or someone will say, see, they're just so dominant, they're bullies, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
So the a common misconception, hmm, I think that they put people into a rigid box.
Yes.
You know, a common misconception is that the DISC, that some people think that the DISC assessment puts people into a rigid box, or that one DISC type is better than another, right? So we clarify that the DISC is about recognizing natural tendencies and preferences, okay, and not limiting, for God's sake, it's not limiting someone's potential, right?
Right.
Because then you're just stuck. That's what I'm saying. You're still here, and we've gone on. The world has moved on, and you're still back there, right? Stuck because that's just how I am, or that's just how they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another misconception is that the DISC is a one-time activity. That's why you will hear me, and I continue to say throughout our conversation here, it should be continuous. It is not a one-time activity. You know, we stress that it's a continuous tool for development, okay? And it's used, and it is meant to be revisited and applied in various situations. We also ensure that everyone understands that this result should be used to complement, not replace, okay, other leadership and team building strategies, right?
Right.
Again, because it's dangerous when you just want to use it to say this is what I am, and then now you just want to take it and run with it.
Right.
It should be used to complement, not replace. Okay, it's very, very important, along with other leadership and team building strategies, in which we also can help institutions with. We have many programs that dive into all of that.
Okay. So speaking on that part of it, where do you see DISC assessments and the relationship between wellness happening? Can you see a merge there in the future? Because right now, the way these organizations are, I don't know. It's like people are dropping out of jobs left and right due to cultures being toxic. So where do you see the future going with DISC assessments and building relationships and organizations?
I think that organizations can stay ahead of the curve if they promote cultural wellness and utilize the DISC assessments effectively. And they can stay ahead by continuously investing in leadership development and cultural wellness, okay, initiatives. They need to have these initiatives. This includes not only implementing tools like the DISC, but also fostering an environment of continuous learning and improvement. Okay, got people still stuck, and I keep saying that, but you know this definitely includes and emphasizes that they need to stay informed. You know, staying informed about the latest research and trends in organizational behavior, and being willing to adapt. Okay, willing to adapt and innovate are also key. So it's important. It's important to regularly assess and regularly update your cultural wellness programs. If they don't have them, they need to have them. Okay, they need to update them, their programs, to ensure they remain relevant and effective as the organization evolves. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, in addition to the DISC assessment, are there any other behavior assessments emerging that you're excited about?
Hmm.
Because I see you're very passionate about the DISC assessment, but there anything that could pair with it to kind of support the organizations?
There's so many things that I can come up with that we have that can pair and help with organizations. Hmm, well, let's just say it. We're currently developing new programs that delve deeper into cultural wellness.
Okay.
including some of our advanced workshops and training modules that integrate the latest research in organizational psychology and behavioral assessments. These particular programs will provide even more tailored support for leaders looking to create healthier and more productive workplace cultures. Um, but we don't have enough time to talk about that in this this right now.
Yes, ma'am. And so the next question, you're actually staying ahead of the curve and creating programs within your organization that can continue to support and help organizations in addition to the DIS assessment. Is that what I'm hearing?
I that in a nutshell.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So how did you become interested in wellness and the DIS assessment, and what drives this passion for you in that area?
My interest in cultural wellness and the DISC assessment grew out of a out of a deep desire to help people work better together. And out of my own personal trauma in my work in the workplace.
Yeah.
I've always believed that the way we communicate and relate to each other is fundamental to our success. Both personally and professionally. So for me, seeing a positive transformation in organizations that embrace these particular tools drives my passion. It's incredibly rewarding to me to witness the shift in dynamics when people understand each other better, and work together more harmoniously. So that's the gist of it. It started out of my own personal trauma that made
Yeah.
me really delve into this.
I think that's what helped me shape my organization also. The trauma that I had within organizations kind of made me drew back and made me not want to go back into another organization. It's like, I can't do this. My mental health was so affected by the last organization I worked with. I was just like, okay, it's been a year since I've been in any organization working, now working my own business. And so I think that passion drives us personally to want to be better, because we're not the only people that are going through these things. There are a lot of people that we're being voices for. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? We're being voices for the people that are just shutting their mouth, putting their head down, and just working, and their mental health is being affected on the back end. You
Right,
know?
it really is. It's important that, and I'm glad that you mentioned that because people have to feel like they first and foremost feel valued. And if
Yes.
they feel valued, they're feeling heard. And if they're feeling heard, they can trust that leader, which
Mhm.
will allow vulnerability. Many of us don't like that. I'm guilty of that. I don't want to show you everything that's going on with me because that's too intrusive
Personal.
and
Yeah.
personal. But you bring you wherever you go. You get what I'm saying? You take
Mhm.
you with you wherever you go. So it is important that that's important, and this is why with our organization and our pillars: communication, connection, collaboration, captaincy, where the leader has to understand how important it is to know that they're an influencer, right? How it all impacts the culture of whatever environment that you're in, right? And it's important that that leader understands that they need to continuously work on that, not only on that overall in the organization, but utilize those soft skills, right? To help not only that organization, but themselves to be better communicators, which ultimately will impact that institution overall.
Mhm. I have one question. There's another question I'm going to ask, but you keep mentioning soft skills. Can you give my audience an example of what a soft skill looks like for a leader?
Communicating,
Okay.
communication and connecting. How well they collaborate with individuals. Someone says that they want a job done, they tell you have to do it, but they look at it. Here's the D, that dominant one, the one that wants to run everything. Now, all leaders aren't dominant. Let me just be clear with that. But I'm going to just use that as an example. They give you something to do, and you're trying to get it started and you're working on it before you can get things going. They want to run and take it over and tell you how it's not done right. You're moving too slow, this, that, and the other. They didn't give you any other parameters, right? They gave you a job to do, but nobody can do it better than them. You get what I'm saying? So that's just
Right.
one. And then from that, then you know you have a whole lot of stuff that we run into a lot of issues as a result of that. But you never thought about the fact that you took it over, right? And
I
so,
never see that.
or you know what I'm saying, or you may have not communicated it the best way to tell them how you what the expectations are, how that particular assignment that you may have given them needed to be done and completed, right? So that's where the communication piece is, and that's why it's important to understand. I believe, and my organization firmly believes here at IEXDG that it is important for an organization, if you are lucky and if you're able to, right, have all parts of I call all walks of life as it relates to the DISC. You want a D, you want an I, you want an S, you want a C person on your team. You want every communication style in your environment, right? Because that gives you, I guess, more a balance and a more cohesive environment. We also suggest, from a standpoint of when you're interviewing, you know, when organizations are interviewing, that they invest in doing a behavior analysis, such as a DISC assessment, to see whether or not that individual they're interviewing would be a good fit for their organizations. Also, unfortunately, but fortunately, you probably just some people will disagree when I say but fortunately, but you know, unfortunately, these assessment and these tools will also help the organization and leader understand whether or not that individual that's there may need to find another place. You know what I'm saying? They just may not fit well there. And then that individual will in turn will have a better understanding of how to work on themselves as well. You get what I'm saying? Or to find another location as well. So, you know, it all works out. It's not used it should never be used in a negative, a punitive format, but it is definitely a useful tool. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any advice you want to give leaders just beginning to explore culture wellness and disassessments within their organizations?
My advice would be to start with an open-minded, be open-minded, right? Start with an open mind and a commitment to the process. Cultural wellness and disassessments are powerful tools, but they require buy-in from leadership. They also require a willingness to engage deeply with insights they provide. Okay. Don't just get it done and put it on the bottom of your signature. Okay. I have a lot of some previous colleagues of mine. They will put that down underneath their signature in the email. And I'm like, oh my God. Right. Like Myers-Briggs and all that other stuff. Right. And, you know, and start small, you know, perhaps with a pilot program and use the results to build momentum. And remember that these particular tools are not about fixing people, as I mentioned before, but
Right.
about understanding and leveraging strengths to create a more inclusive, more collaborative, and productive environment. Well, more importantly, make sure to follow through on the insights you gain and turn them into actionable strategies, okay?
Actionable.
Actionable strategies that will lead to real improvements in your organization's culture, personally, as well as socially. Okay, as well as socially.
Yes, ma'am. Well, Dr. D, you have given us so much to think about DISC assessments and about changing the cultures within our organizations. And that's not just for businesses, that's churches, that's anywhere where people gather that have to work together and collaborate. I think this is something, even in your homes, you got to
Your
be
marriages, your
yeah,
marriages, your children, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your
yes.
partner, whatever you want to call it.
It's
It's
not limited to one space. It could be utilized in multiple spaces. And so you guys could grow as a unit, families, churches, businesses, anywhere.
Mhm.
So, is there anything else that you would like to tell our audience before we go? And also let them know where they can find you and how they can, connect with you.
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, thank you. I want to thank you before we end this for Counting It Not Robbery to have me and my on to talk about this amazing organization, Integral Exploration Development Group, IEXDG. And I want everyone to know that we're here. We're here. We're dedicated to empower the community in which we are part of, and we're talking not just where I am physically, but globally, internationally. We're here to assist you in your leadership goals. And we do that through our Effective Leadership Culture Code. We're not just talking, we've been talking about the DISC assessment here, but we're not just about, we don't just deal with the DISC. So we have many programs that we can bring to your organizations, again, to help you delve deeper into creating a more a workplace where it is conducive to a more friendlier and more productive environment. And so we can be reached at iexdg.com. That's our website. Also on YouTube at Dr. D. Nicole. Okay, and where else? LinkedIn, Dr. D. Nicole. But our actual, because I am the face, I am the CEO and founder of this amazing organization. But if you want to get more information about our services, please go ahead and check out our link, www.iexdg.com.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Exclusive interview with Dr. D. Nicole. Even though she's probably done other interviews, honey, it's exclusive on this channel. So thank everyone for watching. I hope you got something valuable out of this, because that is my goal on this channel, to supply you with answers, thought-provoking questions, and how you could be a better leader or start your own organization like we have. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I will see you in the next video. Stay well, stay healthy, stay blessed.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.